Can we all take a seat, please, so we can get started for the afternoon? If I could ask the guest panelists to come up here and take a seat, please. Our guest panelists, if they could come up and take a seat. Victoria White, Catherine Trickett, Andorra, and Nicole Ross. If I could ask our guest panelists to come down and take a seat, please. Victoria and Nicole and Catherine, that would be wonderful.
I'm good.
Started for the afternoon. We have some wonderful speakers with us, and then of course the highlight of our day, our keynote speaker. Before we get started, before I pass this on to Ms. McGuckin again, we all enjoy our lunch? All right, good. Look at that, I heard a couple of thank yous over here. That's very nice. Thank you, you're welcome. Okay, before we get started, I thought I'd just give you a little story here. Last year, we, like every year, through the SHSM programs and the Accelerated OEAP programs, co-op experiential days, we always provide tours for our students. So if you're ever interested in going to one of the unions or one of the colleges to take a tour, and not only to discuss apprenticeship pathways, but also any other kind of pathway that you might be interested in, let your teacher know, and we'll always organize or help organize that for you. Last year we had a tour of Centennial College, and we had about maybe 10, 15 girls from a variety of different schools attend. But one girl in grade 10 really caught my eye because I have never seen such an individual at such a young age with such passion for automobiles. And the interesting part is whatever room we went to, whatever motor we saw, whatever mode of transportation she laid her eyes on, she could explain in complete detail everything about the engine, how it worked, how it didn't work, how it went from one progression to the other and the other. And it wasn't she was just telling people or telling me, whoever wanted to listen. It was the passion behind her voice. Karina, can you please stand up? Can you turn the house lights on for a second? Karina, can you stand up? This young lady now has gone on to grade 11. She's part of that Accelerated OEAP program that we just talked about, the automotive service. I have never met anyone who knows more about cars than her. She's really unbelievable, and there's a girl who's pursuing her passion. She's looking to a career to do what she loves to do. She deserves a great round of applause. Thank you, Ms. McGuffin, they're all yours.
Okay, ladies, we get to enjoy the next portion of today's conference, and this portion is exciting because you get to hear from these amazing women who have become leaders in their industry. They pursued their passion. They prove that when you follow your dreams, you can accomplish anything. And I have the privilege of introducing them. So we're going to go one at a time, but I will tell you who the panel is. First, I'll introduce one at a time. They're going to speak to you about their journey and their careers, and then we'll move to the next, and then hopefully if you have questions, we'll have a few minutes for questions. So on our panel, I have Victoria White, I have Catherine Trickett, Ann Bora, and Nicole Ross. Nicole has an unfair advantage because she's a teacher at the board too. Over the last 3 years, I've had the honor of working with the ladies that you see before you, and each of them has such an inspiring journey, and I hope that you feel the same way at the end of each of their conversations with you. First up, we have Victoria White, and she has been a journeyman electrician for 24 years. She has been an Ontario secondary school teacher and a health and safety officer. She's worked on exciting jobs such as wiring the roof of the Sky Dome. I couldn't do heights, Victoria. Rewiring robots at Ford. They'd fire me. And she's been a foreman at the New Power Generation Station. She's spent time developing OYAP electrician programs and teaching OYAP at Georgetown and Oakville secondary schools. She's currently working for the province using years of experience in creating health and safety programs and training opportunities. I was just speaking with Victoria, and she's so excited and so passionate about the work that she's doing, and she loves bringing this information to groups of young women like yourself. Welcome, Victoria.
Oh, hello? The carpenters got the electronics figured out. Marvelous. Hi, thanks for letting me come and talk to you and share my story. I absolutely love it. I'm living my dream job. I'm doing my dream job in my home office, in my dream house, living my dream life. And it all started with an apprenticeship program. My electrical apprenticeship program 31 years ago. So it was a hard first step to take to jump in 31 years ago to the building construction industry as an apprentice. Nobody in my family's ever done an apprenticeship before. I guess 4 of them have since I did, but 31 years ago I was the first one to give it a try. I really didn't know how to. And just hearing some of the young people this morning, it sounds like it's still a bit of a barrier to get started. I would encourage you though to consider an apprenticeship, getting through your apprenticeship as a key, a magical key that opens up so many opportunities, so many different job descriptions that you never even thought were possible. So 31 years ago, I did start my apprenticeship. I worked it through. And the reason I started the apprenticeship is because a carpenter had told me that 5 years in the skilled trades, getting your CFQ, which some of us call it a license, qualifies you for teacher's college. And what I really wanted to do was be a school teacher. I had 2 little children. I wanted to be off when they were off. And I wanted to make good money. So I thought a school teacher was a good deal. But I couldn't afford university debt. I couldn't afford to take all those loans. I was on my own, and there was just no money for it. So when this carpenter told me that I could do a skilled trade for 5 years, earn my CFQ, go to university for 1 year in teacher's college, I thought that was a very good choice for me, and it worked so well for me. I had no idea that working in the trades was going to be fun and exciting, and the friends I've made on job sites are amazing. Some people I hear say that it's hard, some people say mean things, and sometimes it's a little discriminating. I honestly, 24 years on the tools, I can't remember once ever being put in a position where I was feeling bad or I was being discriminated against. Lots of people get discriminated against because of the color of shoes they wear. It just doesn't matter to me. What did matter to me was I had an eye on the goal. I had a prize to get at the end of this apprenticeship, and I was just going to keep marching, and it was so much fun. I didn't even want to go to university, stop working in the skilled trades, and go to university and get my teaching degree, because it was a lot of fun and there's a lot of money. So when I did go to university and started teaching the school, building the OYAP electricians program, it was hard to stop that too, because I'm telling you, it was so fun as well. Teaching and helping the young people get into their career paths, showing them how to do magical things with electricity. It was a lot of fun. It was very, very rewarding. And of course, great money. So all of those experiences were fantastic in the beginning. But the things that I couldn't do, I really wanted to do. I wanted to learn the health and safety in the job. I was sending young people out into their careers, and they were not as healthy and safe as I needed them to be. So I found this organization, the Infrastructure Health and Safety Organization, met the folks that I'm working with now. Wonderful people. Again, I'm having a great time. It's great money also. And I get to use the skills and the experiences from my apprenticeship, from being a journeyman and a foreman, and also from being a classroom teacher. I use all of those skills now to develop new training programs and hopefully make them fun. And how many people have taken the safety classes at school? Anybody? Are they the most fun classes ever? So my job is to make them a lot more fun and a lot more exciting, and I'm just really having a great time. So if I had anything to wish for you or to help you remember is to just keep your eyes on the prize and give apprenticeship an opportunity and don't consider it the last thing you'll ever do. It's a key and it's going to open up so many opportunities for you and it'll teach you so much every single day and it's a wonderful choice for a lot of us. If it's not the right choice for you forever, use it to open up new opportunities. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Victoria. I have to tell you that key analogy, I heard all the way through my whole teenage years. That was my dad's line. Lisa, get your key and everything else will fall into place. So whatever your key, as Victoria said, happens to be, use it to open those doors to your success. Next, I have Catherine Trickett up to speak. And Catherine has had an unusual journey to where she is now. And she started on the runways as a model in New York. And from there, followed her passion into the certified Red Seal Carpenters certification, and she is an instructor at Local 27 College of Carpenter and Allied Trades. And she is the lead instructor there, and I'm going to say it again, she is the lead instructor there. Okay, she's a good instructor there. She's also proof again positive that when you follow your passion, no matter where your career starts, you can enjoy it, be successful, be passionate about it, and continue to bring that message. Catherine, were you with us right from the very first year? Right from year one, bringing this message to over 500 girls every single year. Catherine.
As I say, I've been a part of this since the beginning. I think this is a fantastic initiative. You guys are very lucky to be part of a school board that has this kind of initiative, and it's really about awareness, just showing you that there are different opportunities for you out there. Yeah, I'm not the lead instructor at my facility. I'm one of the instructors. No. One of the instructors at my facility. I have loads to say. I'll try not to take up too much of your time. As I say, where I started out is I was a runway model when I was about your guys' age, but realized very quickly that that wasn't going to be a long-term career, so needed to figure out something. So then I decided to go into merchandising because I loved fashion so much. So I was a fashion merchandiser for Banana Republic, for Le Vian Rose, for different places, and I really liked that job because it was a pretty physical job and a very tangible result. If I put this t-shirt here, it would sell very quickly, but if I put it over here, then it wouldn't. So it was something I really enjoyed, but ultimately there was no money to be made. So I took kind of a hard look at my life, about 25 years old, and I grew up in Montreal, and then decided to move to Toronto and start a carpentry apprenticeship program. So I researched it and found our facility up in Woodbridge. Back then it was called the Carpenters Training Center. We've had a name change, we're now the College of Carpenters. And I went through my apprenticeship with them, and I did it pretty quickly. Most apprentices take about 5 years to go through their apprenticeship. I did mine in about 3.5 years. I got the opportunity after I finished my basic to get hired onto a crew that was traveling back and forth across Canada. So I got to travel across Canada for free, working about 60 hours a week. So I got to go through my apprenticeship really quick, earning lots of money right away, which is great. I got my Red Seal certificate in about 2010, I believe, and then worked for a couple different companies doing different things, scaffolding, renovations, worked for the Toronto District School Board for a while, and ultimately ended up as an instructor at the CCAT. Never in a million years did I ever think that that was going to be an option. And I get asked the question all the time, what made you decide to do this? And I don't ever have a specific answer, except for the fact that I guess I like to wear jeans, and I shouldn't say this in Catholic school, but I get to curse at work, it's great. And I earn a lot of money. I got little kids at home. I got a almost 2-year-old baby. I think I was pregnant, if anyone was here last year. I was pregnant here last time. He's going to be 2 now. He's a little monster taking over the world. But I have a house, I have a car. It's all paid for because of this. You know, we earn a great living. You guys have the opportunity to sign up for an OYAP program. You guys can come to our facility to go through your OYAP program. We've just started a female mentorship program. So myself and we have another woman instructor from our floor laying sector. We take you out, we talk to you, we let you talk to each other. If there's different women in the facility, talk to them, find out what it's like to really be out there working. Talk about developing different strategies to be out on a job site, how to cope with it. It's kind of a different environment, if you guys can get that, than most workplaces. So we've just started coming up with that program, which is going really, really well so far. The girls are really receptive to it. But after, if you do decide to do an OYAP program, afterwards we do 2 weeks worth of kind of on our nickel job site training to get you ready to go out to the workforce. And then anybody who wants to be placed on a paid union job site, that's what we do. We place them all out on paid union job sites. That's one of the big things that's coming to our facility you get the advantage of. You know, we're kind of the #1 training provider for carpenters in Ontario for sure. And anybody who wants to come up for a tour, we're always welcoming people to come through. I can give you my card, and I've got information about apprenticeship programs. The average age right now of an apprentice is 28 years old. So what's happening is students, men and women, are getting pushed to go to university or college. They're coming out with a degree, but then either they're not finding a good paying job or they're just not happy in what they're doing. So then they end up talking to a buddy and finding out, oh, this guy earns $1,000 a week and he gets to build stuff all week long. So then they come and find a career in the trades afterwards. So it's a lot of the time something that you're coming in too late in life, where if you start right now at your age, you have this opportunity. And like she said, it's literally a key. It opens doors. Once you have your red seal in a trade, there's so many options you can do. You can work on the tools. You can go to the health and safety side of things. You can become a teacher. There's so many different areas you can go into afterwards. Yeah, that's a little bit about me. I can go on.
I think your journey helps the girls see how many possibilities can happen from the start of one's career to the middle and right through. So I think the message that's so important that all of you should continue to embrace is that you have opportunities to do many new things throughout your journey from elementary school to high school to post-secondary and then into your world of work. And I think what we want to say, and I think I heard Catherine say this, is that sometimes you don't want to default into a career, go through university and then go, oh, I can't get a great job. Think about doing your passion now, following it now. So if it's in carpentry or electrician or any area in the non-traditional trades for women, think about it now, and maybe it'll be your #1 choice rather than the default in your late 20s. So that's the information we're bringing you. Next up, I have Ann Bora, who is the Executive Director, Chief Building Official, City of Toronto for the last 15 years. She has a staff of over 400 people responsible for enforcing the Building Code Act. And I'm the principal of a staff of 60. 400 scares me. She has led many key initiatives, including standards for green roof construction, new sign regulations and taxation systems for the city. She's also worked as the Director of Municipal Affairs for the City of Toronto in various areas of housing development and planning fields. She has a Master of Science in Urban and Regional Planning from the University of Toronto, and she's a member of many official building-related associations. Anne.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Yeah? Yes. I wanted to ask you, starting off, it's a great pleasure to be here this afternoon to see so many of you interested in working in, or opportunities in non-traditional professions, and I think we're focusing a lot on those professions or occupations in the construction area today, based on the expertise of the panel. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about my journey to working in the construction field. I think you can see, based on the introduction, that it wasn't necessarily a straight line. I'm going to ask a question. I thought I could ask you to put your hands up, but I don't think I can see your hands. So there you go. Okay, put up your hands if you've ever heard of a chief building official. Well, that's pretty good. There's a few. I'm sure when I was your age, I wouldn't have had a clue what a chief building official one was, let alone aspired to take on that role. It's not something that you would predict, I don't think. Anybody would predict when they're starting their career. So you don't always know where you're going to end up when you start. But when I started, and I was about your age, by the time I was in grade 9, I was pretty convinced I thought I'd be an architect. And a lot of that was because I liked to draw. I liked art. And I had an art teacher who was quite supportive of thinking of different things to do with those interests. And so I actually found myself some years later starting my career really in construction at the University of Waterloo. I was an architecture student, and in that program, and there's other programs in the colleges and universities that are similar, that are co-op programs, where you get a chance to practice a little bit in the field you're interested in while you're studying. It's not just all about studying. And that was a really good idea, because it gives you a better sense of really what you're pursuing and whether you're a good fit. I remember for my first co-op placement, I was being interviewed by a big architecture firm and a bunch of, let's say, pretty old white guys who were running the bank at the time, and they asked me if I was going to be comfortable on a construction site, because the job was about supervising the construction. So I didn't really anticipate that question, but it's something that you might want to think about. People will ask you sometimes as a woman whether you're comfortable in the roles in less traditional fields. Doesn't mean you can't do it, though. Just be prepared for the questions. So as I progressed, I actually found out that I wasn't as interested in architecture as I thought it might be at the beginning. And wended my way, mostly working part-time in architecture and planning firms, into eventually a master's degree, as you saw, in urban and regional planning. Until about the last century, planning was thought to be part of architecture. It's all kind of fragmented now, but really it wasn't that far from the original goal. It was just working at a different scale, the city scale instead of the building scale. But really looking at the same discipline and all part of the construction and development process. But what I found out is that throughout my career, every single position I've held has had a relationship with the construction industry. Which brings me back to my current role as the Chief Building Official of the City of Toronto. I'll tell you a little story about that. When I was first hired, it was a woman, so a more senior woman in Toronto, was hiring me and asked me how she could possibly sell me based on my experience to council. To be hired as a chief building official, you have to be hired by the council of the municipality. So, that's like Mayor Tory, and all the councillors have to vote on whether you get this job. And she said, she didn't know how to express it to them. She said, because I'm not a man, I'm not an engineer, and I have no local experience, all of which were true. And it's quite true conventionally up until when I became the chief building official. Mostly those were the kinds of people that had the position I now hold. And in fact, the 400 people that work for me, there's a larger proportion of men, but Increasingly, we see more women taking on the roles in those 400 positions. So if you think about it, you might have heard more about building inspectors than chief building officials. Building inspectors, we have hired recently quite a few women. Plans examiners, so often women who are engineers and want a role that's more conducive to family life might end up coming to be plans examiners, the people that decide whether or not a building permit is issued. So, for those of you that don't know what a chief building official is or a building inspector, when you walk by a construction site, by law, there's supposed to be a sign up there that says building permit. Doesn't always happen, but it's supposed to happen. And you'll see on the corner of that building permit, you'll see my name. And then you'll also see the director who's responsible for that part of the city, who oversees our operations. So you might have a sense, we're the people that come and see how construction is proceeding and whether it meets all of the laws that apply. That's essentially our role. You might be surprised to know, though, when women do enter these fields, they often have an opportunity for success. Until recently, the 3 most active municipalities in Ontario for construction had chief building officials that were women. One of them, of course, was me. And the other 2, one was a lawyer who got into the regulatory field, and another was an engineer who came out of the construction industry. So there's many routes, and often women emerge from unconventional routes into more conventional roles, and you just have to follow those opportunities as they come along. So I would like to mention a little bit about somebody that couldn't be here and an organization they represented. It's an organization that the City of Toronto Building Division has just joined as a corporate member, and that's the Canadian Association of Women in Construction, and Tammy Evans is the president. She's also a busy construction lawyer, which is probably what kept her away today. But we're specifically joining that organization to encourage more women into roles of building inspectors and plans examiners like we need in order to attract those women into our division, because we often get great employees. So I think, like a lot of the other speakers have said today, there are ways for women to pursue careers in less conventional areas like construction. If that's your passion and of interest to you, take that step, and that step will lead you probably to some other opportunity, maybe not the one you expected, but it'll build on the last step you took. So these are places for you to excel, and if that's your passion, you have a great opportunity to succeed.
Thank you, Anne, for the information, but also for reminding us that many different roads can lead to great careers, and to always at least follow one of them and to pursue it with all your might. The last person to speak on our panel this afternoon is Nicole Ross. Nicole graduated from Queen's in 2007 with a degree in chemistry. She moved to New Zealand and began her apprenticeship and stayed there for 2 years doing her apprenticeship. She returned to Canada and worked for a non-union home renovation company for a year. She completed Teachers College in 2011, passed her Red Seal certification in 2013, and then began her own business. From there, Nicole went into full-time teaching at Bishop Allen. She knows your students are paying attention. And she is teaching construction technology there, as well as some other courses. Am I right?
Hi, can everyone hear me? Yeah. Okay, so that was a pretty thorough, I guess, introduction into who I am. So when I was your age, I was very much streamed into the university line. I really liked visual arts, that was always my passion, but my guidance counselor kind of said, well, your marks are high, so go to university, that's where you should be. So I actually started in life sciences and realized I hated memorizing. I didn't care about the kidney system. I didn't care about any of it. So I switched into chemistry because I could kind of figure it out without memorizing. Maybe that was a bad decision, but I loved it. I loved chemistry. But everyone always talks about math and sciences in schools, and let me just first say that I'm not trying to belittle universities. Like, I had a great time and everything, but there are enough people vouching for universities and not enough people vouching for the other side of it. And so all of my successes where I am now, every single financial, everything I got, any financial transaction, every single job, I would have gotten 100% only with carpentry as opposed to chemistry. So I went into the sciences thinking that, you can do anything in the sciences. If you asked me in third year university, I was going to go and get my PhD in chemistry and then go into law school and become a patent lawyer. Then I worked for an amazing professor who worked incredibly hard. She worked from 7 in the morning till 10 at night, every single day in the lab, and she was phenomenal. I learned so much from her. I even got a paper published one summer when I worked for her. And then I worked with another person who had an amazing lifestyle, but he only worked kind of 9 to 5, didn't care as much. His chemistry, his work wasn't as great. And I realized, why am I going into something that I wasn't passionate about? And for me, that's when I realized how important passion was. So that's actually what made me go away from chemistry. I decided to travel. I'd never traveled past I played provincial field hockey. So other than like traveling with the team, I never traveled outside of Canada. So on a whim, I bought a plane ticket to New Zealand. I went on my own. I got a working holiday visa. I blew the rest of my OSAP money in about 4 weeks doing bungee jumping, skydiving, things like that. So I needed a job, and they offered me a job on a construction site. That was the first time I ever touched a hammer. New Zealand is very different than Canada, so there was a little bit of discrimination where I was told, don't worry, we'll pull you off the tools on Fridays, you can cook for the boys, or I get calls at like 8 at night being like, can you babysit for my children? And I was like, no, I'm here to work as a carpenter. So I worked there for 2 years. Came back to Canada, worked for a home renovation company, as was mentioned. Throughout this time of, I guess, self-discovery, I decided what I loved about building was the creativity. I loved being able to work with my hands. I really enjoyed chemistry, but it didn't have the full picture. And I actually went into teaching because I felt that there was a lot of teachable moments that could be had, a lot of ways I could really reach out to younger people to get them into, whether it's the trades or whether it's academia, it doesn't really matter to me if I'm perfectly honest. My goal as, I guess, a teacher is to open up the options, because right now a lot of the people in here aren't even considering the trades, and if you don't end up in the trades, that's okay. But you never know in 5 years from now, 10 years from now, if you're looking at your salary, you're looking at what you like about your job, and you realize, wait a second, maybe I do want to try something. And then you go there. Or if you're unemployed for a little bit and you look at the salary being offered to you and then you realize, well, in the trades, I'm actually going to get more money, then that's an option to you. And so I think it's just more, right now it's awareness. You guys are still really young. You don't really know what you want to do. One of the big reasons, though, that I actually said yes to starting an apprenticeship in New Zealand was the freedom. So I worked in a place called Queenstown, New Zealand. It's known as the, what they call it, the adventure capital of the world, because there are more extreme sports per capita than anywhere else in the world. So as a 21-year-old at the time, I loved that idea. It meant that I could do all kinds of different things. And I met people from all over the world. Some people had not visited, like gone back home for 19 years. There's some people who are traveling. 1 week they're in Australia building a deck, then they use that money to go travel somewhere else, and then they were building something else, and they moved somewhere else. Like they were like hopping around the globe. In chemistry, you couldn't do that. So that freedom was very, very appealing to me. So that's one of the biggest pulls. And then since being back, I've done so many different trips, so many different travels, just because I had the flexibility if I wanted it. Where once I was working for a home renovation company, I decided I wanted to cycle across Canada, so I quit my job and found a job instantly when I got back. Actually, the same employer, he called me and said, when are you back? Because I really need more workers. But the reality is that flexibility, it's not the same in teaching. I can't just decide in the middle of September, I'm gonna go somewhere and I'll leave you guys for a bit. You can't do that. So it's nice to have that option. But yeah, so right now, I absolutely love being a teacher. I absolutely love my students. Whoever's in here. But the more we can grow these kinds of programs and more we can get women out into the trades and just exploring different things and even developing skills, I think it's the best thing. Perfect. Okay.
Thank you, Nicole. Yeah, you are a great role model for your kids. Hang on. Too fast, guys, too fast. Let me just say thank you to Ms. Ross. She's a great role model for her students. She brought up freedom, money, and lots of fun. Don't forget these words, because this panel brought to you information not just about the jobs, but about what it did for them, for their lifestyle, and for their families. So as you get to know the career, you also want to investigate what it can do for you as you progress through your career journey. I am at this moment going to invite Ms. Musticato up to the stage. Oh, there you are. And we're going to do one more Kahoot.
Wow, look at that. All right, so you know what's coming up, right? Okay, so let's take out our phones, our devices. Let's get on to kahoot.it. Tech crew in the back, if we can bring up the screen, please. 785, and let's keep our, we have one person already on, so it should be working. Go ahead. Please remember that when you enter your name, let's use appropriate names, okay? All right, here we go. 13 players. Okay, here we go. We're up to 113. 37 seconds more. Let's go. How many more can we get on here? Wow. Go, go. Let's hit 200 and then we're going to hit start. We're at 95. Can we hit 200? All right. Ready? And go. 8 questions. So, Kate Campbell completed 400 apprentice hours as a blank. What do you think? 20 seconds left. Get in your answer, 7, 5. All right, here we go. And the answer is? Go ahead. Carpenter. Where is? Surly. Surly, come on up. We go to the next question. From St. Joseph Moral Park. Okay, most apprenticeship programs take blank years to complete. Let's see what you answered. And the answer is? Awesome. Riviera, please come on up. From Mary Ward. Apprentices learn skills in the classroom and receive paid on-the-job training. True or false? And the answer is, let's see. Blue, let's see. Loseto, please come on up. We are 4 of 8. How many SHSM programs do we have in the TCDSB? Can you remember? Let's see what the answer is. And the answer is? Awesome. It's actually 57. There's a typo. Orden, come on up, please. Orden, come on up. And we're going to go to the next question. Come on up, Orden. Our guest panelist, Mary Green, is a certified Denise from St. John Paul. All right, do we remember this from this morning? Let's see. All right, she was an automotive service technician. Hopefully you read it. Don't skip. Let's see. Do you remember that photo? She's on our panel now. And the answer is? Come on up, let's see. Adrija, come on up, please. All right. Adrija, what school are you from? Bishop Allen, here you go. Let's go to the next question. These are our last 2 questions. Which TCDSB school offers an all-female carpentry class, construction class? Which school has an all-female accelerated OEA class, carpentry class? Let's see. Let's see if you can figure this one out. Bishop Morocco, way to go. And the winner is? And we're going to move towards our last question, ladies. Okay, Maria from St. Joe's Morrow Park. This is our very last question. To register for an OEAC program in the TCDSB, you should contact Let's see if you can figure this one out. For our very last prize. And the answer is all of the above. You can contact the guidance counselor, co-op teacher, or your administration, your vice principal. The winner is Jamma Lee. Come on up. Father John Redmond, way to go. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
So for the teachers in the room, if you want to know how to create some excitement in your class, Kahoot is it. At this time, to join the amazing women on the stage, I have the privilege of introducing our keynote speaker for this afternoon. I have to confess that watching HGTV is one of my guilty pleasures, and watch it as often as I can. Kate Campbell is our keynote speaker for this afternoon. Kate was born and raised in Georgetown, Ontario, and has been working in television and the renovation industry for several years. Kate is a certified Red Seal carpenter. She can be seen on HGTV Homes on Homes, Homes in New Orleans, Handyman Superstar Challenge, and Homes Inspection. Kate is featured on HGTV's hit show Decked Out, Disaster that's right, Disaster Deck Wars, where she helped build some of the most interesting and unique decks out there. And if I could afford her, I'd have her do one in my backyard. Coming in April, Kate will be on HGTV's Home to Win series. And if that wasn't enough, Kate owns her own contracting company, which was founded in 2006. When she's not filming with Decked Out, she loves to take on her own projects. She climbed Mount Kilimanjaro to raise funds for the Water Can Project. She's very passionate about changing the face of the skilled trades, and is especially passionate about being an advocate for women in the trades. We are very honored to have Kate speak to us this afternoon. Kate Campbell.
Hello. Hi. Hi, everybody. What an introduction. Thank you so much. And thank you to the guest panel. How amazing is it to see women working and inspiring in the trades? I kept thinking to myself, as I was sitting there, I really wish that I had had something like that when I was your age. So just really think about that we're very lucky to be here, and you're very lucky to be here as well to experience this. I love the quote, "You can't be what you can't see," or "It's harder to be what you can't see." And I really wish that I had seen and been inspired by so many amazing, empowering women when I was your age. So I've been lucky enough to be working in the industry for about 10 years, and I've been on 10 different HGTV shows, which is something that I never expected getting into the trades, but it's something that kind of just happened. And I always get asked, so how did you get into the trades? What made you want to pursue a skilled trade? And I never really had a concise answer. Like a lot of the ladies, it was kind of a long and very convoluted path. And I was talking to my mom about it and how I could explain to people how I got into the skilled trades. And she said, "Kate, well, why don't you talk to them about playing baseball?" And I kind of looked at her like, why would I talk about baseball when I'm talking about skilled trades? And she said, "Well, Kate, when you were a little girl, you wanted to play baseball. But not only did you want to play baseball, you wanted to play baseball with the boys." So if I can get this to go. Oh no. I don't, maybe it's this clicker. Go. Yeah, there it is. So there I am, in the middle of a bunch of boys. And she said, "Kate, you wanted to play baseball with the boys, and you had this wonderful, childlike, blissful ignorance because you walked onto the field, and I was watching from the stands, and the boys didn't want to play with you. You sat on one end of the bench, and then they were all on the other end of the bench. But you wanted to play baseball, so you did it. And we wanted you to play baseball, so we enrolled you." And she said it wasn't until you walked up to the plate and you did something, I'm going to say it was a home run. I did something spectacular, and I was running around the bases with a huge smile on my face, and I got back to the bench, and finally I was accepted. High fives, smiles, and I was all of a sudden part of the boys club. And she said, "Kate, the problem was that every year you wanted to play baseball again and again." And I was playing house league baseball at that point, so every year I was playing on a new team, and I had to prove myself year after year after year. So kind of interesting considering the career choice that I decided to pursue. Let's see here. There you go. So my love for athletics, being active, it continued throughout high school and middle school. I played every sport in the book. I was a competitive horseback rider, but I was also extremely academic. So I was graduating as a senior athlete of the year and also the senior athlete with the highest proficiency out of male and female students. And the stories up here really resonated with me because I had the same question as I'm sure many of you will have, and that's, what do I do after high school? I didn't know what I wanted to pursue. That wasn't supposed to go up yet. But I ended up going to a guidance counselor and talking to her about where I should go after high school and what I should do. The only problem was I was graduating, a good problem, but I was graduating with a 93% academic average. So my transcript was out on the table when I walked into the guidance counselor's office, and it became a question of not what do you love to do and what would you like to pursue as a passion, it was what university are you going to go to. And it didn't sit well with me at that point because I had no idea what I wanted to take after high school. And I wasn't just going to go to university just to go to university. But I applied anyway, and I was accepted to 4 universities with academic scholarships. And I can remember sitting there at the kitchen table with my parents, and I had the acceptance letters in front of me, but I still had that big pit in my stomach because I really didn't want to go just to go. And they gave me one of the biggest gifts I think any parents could give to their children, and that's they said, Kate, doesn't matter what you do. We don't care if you go to university, just find something that you love to do, something that you're passionate about. And I kind of sat there and I felt like a weight was lifted off my shoulders. I took a deep breath and I said, I'm not going to university. I don't want to go. And they said, perfect, just find something that you love. So, as you already saw, it wasn't supposed to come up. Wrong clicker, all right, thank you. We're all sorted out. I went and traveled. And I think any student coming out of high school should go and travel. I think that it takes your small town, your little bubble, and it expands it exponentially, even if you're from a city, your world, and it really encourages you to think outside the box. So I traveled to New Zealand, and I traveled to Australia, and I was gone for about 5 months, traveling with 4 friends, skydiving, snorkeling the Great Barrier Reef, living out of a car, doing really fun, crazy, amazing things. But when I got back, I still had to decide what I wanted to do as a career. So I decided that I didn't want to go to university, and I didn't need to go to university at this point. And again, not really throwing university under the bus, but there are enough people advocating for university. Like was already said, we need more people advocating for the skilled trades. So I got back, and I thought, hey, why not combine 2 passions of mine? I loved writing, I loved English in school, but I also love photography. So I decided to mash them together and apply for a photojournalism course. And I found one out of state, so the Southern Alberta Institute of Technology. I applied and was accepted. The only problem was that I was moving to Calgary, so I was moving away from friends and family, which I also thought would be kind of an adventure. But this is where the story kind of takes a turn for the worse. I got back from traveling, and I thought I was in the same physical condition as I was when I had left. So I got on my horse and had a really bad accident. I fell off, and I 90-degreed my femur. My foot was up around my head. Yeah, it was bad. You know it's bad when you make the paramedic cry? Yeah. So I was out in the middle of the field. They had to straighten my leg. They used something called traction, which is basically like a bicycle seat with a rod on it and Velcro. One paramedic puts your leg back into place, the other one puts the traction on and cranks your leg back out straight. Yeah, sorry. It was an emergency surgery, a metal rod from my hip to my knee, a week in hospital, about a month bedridden, and a year recovery. That's excruciating for someone that loves being active. I couldn't walk. I couldn't do anything. My mother had to help me go to the washroom. So if you want to talk about humility, that's had that happen. But that's not the end of it. After I was finally walking again, so I progressed from crutches to cane to hobbling to finally walking, which I was lucky. I got the ability to walk back. I went to celebrate at a friend's cottage, and she wanted to go snowmobiling. I love the sound effects. And as you can probably imagine, I got in an accident. I flipped the snowmobile. My leg was in, it was the other leg, don't worry. I flipped the snowmobile off the trail. I compound fractured my tibia and fibula through the front of my shin. It was another metal rod, another emergency surgery, and another year, basically, of recovery. So that was 2 years of my life that I couldn't walk. And I would never wish that upon anyone, but that gave me perspective on life that I wish everyone had. Because things in life can change in an instant. So that's why I'm so passionate about talking about passions and about finding something that you love doing, because I've been there sitting in bed in agony and just wishing that I could be back on my feet and doing something that I loved. So that's something that I always talk about, and I kind of wear these breaks as badges of honor because it allowed me to have a life perspective that I feel a lot of people don't have until something happens to them where they really have to think about it. So I still needed to find something that I wanted to do as a career, and now I was even more ambitious to find something that I truly loved doing. And it was actually my mom that picked out a newspaper article for a Women in Skilled Trades course. So this course was out of Burlington, Ontario. Let's see if it comes up. Come on. But it's called Women in Skilled Trades course. It's a WIST program. And it basically takes you into framing, plumbing, electrical, roofing, building code. And it fully immerses you in anything to do with the trades. Unlike walking onto a job site with all men, this program was all women. It was 20 women, there were 200 applicants, and I was lucky enough to be one of the women accepted. And this course was 4 months, and as soon as I picked up a power tool and as soon as I started building, I realized that I was hooked. I loved doing it, and the only problem that I felt was, why hadn't I known about this sooner? I would have loved to have been doing this out of high school, but it was never an opportunity that was really presented to me. So I knew that I was hooked, I just needed to find a placement. So I had to find a 400-hour placement with a company, and I decided, well, why not go and apply to arguably the best known contractor in Canada. So I applied to Homes on Homes to work under Mike Holmes. And I can still remember it like it was yesterday. I was walking onto site, and I was walking onto that field of all men, and my knees were shaking, and I knew because there were cameras around, I was using power tools, I was afraid about my fingers and toes, and everything stayed intact. But it was really daunting to be walking onto that job site when I knew that I was one of the only girls. And last year, someone said it's about getting over yourself, and it's about pushing through experiences like that. And I really agree with that, because as soon as I was on the site, things were fine. It was almost like you take a deep breath and you keep going. But it's long hours, it's physical work. We traveled across Canada, which was incredible, so I love to travel and was provided with that opportunity. We went down to New Orleans and we built a house down in the 9th Ward for a family that was in need. Hurricane Katrina ripped through, and 3 years later, nothing had been rebuilt. So I lived in New Orleans for 3 months, building a house with the Homes crew as a part of this skilled trades opportunity. And meanwhile, I still felt like I hadn't truly found where I was supposed to be. So that's another thing that I like to talk about. Just because you get into a career that you're passionate about, maybe the first job won't be the forever job. Maybe the second job won't be the forever job. And it might take you a while to find your stride, but eventually, if you're passionate about it, you'll find the place that you're supposed to be. So I decided to leave Homes on Homes, and again, I went traveling to gain some perspective. So I traveled to Thailand for 6 weeks, did some more backpacking. It's beautiful, I highly recommend it. And I came back, and I had already met my now boss, Paul LaFrance, with Decked Out. He was building a couple decks for Mike, and he had offered me a job and said if I ever needed to change of pace, come and work for him. So I got back from Thailand, and I messaged him, and he said, awesome, Kate, come on board. But by the way, we're filming a TV show. Is that okay with you? And it was, which I didn't know about when I first applied for the job. So, again, I walked onto a job site with all men, But this time it was completely different because these guys were automatically like my family. I felt comfortable from the first day I was there. We were goofing around, we were having fun, and one of the things that's brought up the most with us is people look at us and we're big goofballs and we're a little crazy, but then we produce these incredible products, and that's the thing at the end of the day that's really tangible and that's really rewarding. So I kind of felt like I caught my stride and I could be more confident in myself and that I was really enjoying myself in the trades. And this was about 6 or 7 years in. But I started to question why the skilled trades weren't being promoted as much as I think they should be. And I found this quote from Mike Rowe. He's the host of Dirty Jobs, and he goes into places where a lot of people don't know or don't care to go into. But he's a huge proponent of the skilled trades. And I just love reading this. Consider the reality of today's job market. We have a massive skills gap. Even with record unemployment, millions of skilled jobs are unfulfilled because no one is trained or willing to do them. Meanwhile, unemployment among college graduates is at an all-time high, and the majority of those graduates with jobs are not even working in their field. Plus, we owe trillions, this is in the US, but still, trillions of dollars in student loans, and we still push a 4-year degree as the best possible way for people to find a successful career. So, just to open your eyes up to the fact that I'm and my friends are not the rarity. I have many friends that went to university, came out, couldn't find a job, were in student debt, and they had to go back to college or they had to find another career choice because they couldn't get a job. So how do you feel about pursuing something that you don't know in the first place if you want to pursue it, coming out with debt, and then probably having to go into something else? I had a friend look at me and say, "Kate, are you happy?" And I just unequivocally said to him, yes, this was the best decision of my life. And I also felt like I needed to have a mantra to kind of just show you guys how much I love and I'm passionate about the trades. So people always ask, I chose to go into the trades. It wasn't a second choice. It wasn't a consolation prize. This was something that I love and that I wanted to do. I worked and earned money while I learned, instead of a lot of my friends that went to university are now in debt and can't find a job. I am challenged daily, physically, creatively, intellectually, and I have fun on the job. I'm so passionate about it. I have so many opportunities as a woman, as would you guys. Women only comprise something like 5 to 7% of the skilled trades. So there are so many opportunities, as we saw here, and as I talk about skilled trades, for women within the skilled trades. And I make good money while doing a job that I love. And money is an interesting thing, because we heard it a lot up here. You make good money, you make good money. But money shouldn't always be the be-all to end-all when making a career choice. So, what would you do if money were no object? What kind of career would you pick if you didn't have to think about money? And I watched a YouTube video named What Would You Do If Money Were No Object? It's narrated by Alan Watts, and it's a great YouTube video. He talks about people being poets and being horseback riding instructors and being carpenters and not worrying about money. And yes, that's awesome to think about, but we all have bills to pay. We have to feed ourselves. We have to live somewhere. So it's not ideal. But I thought it was interesting because I also watched a documentary called Happy on Netflix. And one of the studies that they did talked about careers and talked about salary and happiness levels and how they compared. And they studied someone that made they studied a number of people that made $5,000 and a number of people that made $50,000. And they compared their happiness levels. And what they found was that the people that were making $50,000 were exponentially happier than the people that were making $5,000, because the people that were making $5,000 had to scrape by for basic necessities. But that's not the really interesting part. The interesting part was when they brought up that they had also studied people that made $5 million. And there wasn't much of a change in happiness levels between the people that were making $50,000 to the people that were making $5 million. And I thought that was really interesting because you always think about money when you're thinking about careers. And when I started out, I wasn't making good money. And I feel like the majority of people starting out in a career will not be making great money, although there are opportunities within the trades where you can start out and you can be making great money. But you have to work your way up. And I really don't think that money should be the first and most important factor when deciding on a career. And if you're passionate about it, the money will come. And after 10 years, the money has come. But just think about that when you're thinking about a career. Money isn't everything. So, if it's not money, what else holds us back from following our passions? Fear. So I love this quote as well. Jim Carrey's talking about his dad, who was an accountant, but he also wanted to be a comedian. But he was scared. I love the line, so many of us choose our path out of fear disguised as practicality. We fear going out and doing something that we're passionate about because it's not practical, or someone's told us that that's not the right thing to do. And I love this because he talks about his dad and how his